Understanding consumer decisions is the key to growing your brand. But what influences these choices? We created a measurement framework that leverages the latest thinking on the triggers that drive consumer choice decisions. In this mini-series, join effectiveness expert Les Binet from adam&eveDDB and global brand consultant Hilary Gaines from MetrixLab as they unpack the 3 key components you need to tackle the full ecosystem of brand influences: emotional resonance, mental availability, and physical availability. In this episode, we chat about mental availability and how you can grow your brand's penetration by building brand associations with category entry points or buying occasions and leveraging distinctive assets.
I'm Hilary Gaines, and I'm one of MetrixLab's global brand consultants.
I'm Les Binet. I'm head of effectiveness at adam&eveDDB, an advertising agency in London.
It's about encoding memories in the brain. Or even
Yes.
20 years ago, I was working with a neuroscientist who explained all of this to me, which at the time was like groundbreaking. It's really interesting about how the brain holds pieces of information and then links them together if they're associated. And that's what it's all about, is building those neural pathways.
It's the brain, as at least as far as we understand it, works primarily through associations between things. And so you've got to create associations between your category entry points, as you call them, the need states, the moments that lead you to buy. So you've got to create links to the category entry points, the brand, and other thoughts and feelings about the brand, which we'll come on to when we talk about emotional resonance.
Yes. In fact, we were talking about this the other day, that those emotional connections actually play an important part in those associations in the brain, because it might be that you associate a brand with your granny having given it to you at tea time, or it might be that you connect a beer brand with music festivals. They may have promoted music festivals, and that kind of wraps the brand with a positive emotional experience of the occasion. So it's so interconnected. It's fascinating.
So and then the other bit of that network are the distinctive brand assets. So that every time you experience the brand in some form, whether that's an ad or buying it or seeing someone else consuming it, you get an association with the category entry point, an association with the distinctive brand assets, and some kind of set of thoughts and feelings. So ideally, you see someone drinking a Coke, you recognize that it's Coke because you recognize the shape of the bottle, the logo, etc., etc. You recognize the category entry point, which is a refreshing drink on a hot day, and you really wish you had one. And actually, I'm now slightly salivating. And then some other thoughts and feelings, which often are very vague. They are just kind of like, bet that tastes good, or he looks cool, or what a lout, drinking on the tube, whatever it is, they can be positive and negative. But and then when you build those links in a strong way, then every time you see the Coke logo, you'll get a little emotional, a little echo in the brain that sort of says, I could have one of those now, and I'd feel good about it.
And is there a relationship between brand size and mental availability?
Yes, there is. And it's, you showed that with your research, you find that mental availability correlates with penetration. And penetration, as we said earlier, is the main driver of brand size. I think what is sometimes a little tricky for people to get their heads around is that it's a sort of two-way relationship.
Yeah, like a dual causality, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So, big brands are likely to be more well known because they're big brands.
Yeah, and higher mental availability.
And brands are big because they are more well known. And those two things echo, go back and forth between one another. There's all the stuff about share of search, share of voice, and so forth. And in the world of, we often talk about excess share of search and excess share of voice. It's about whether, for example, is mental availability higher than market share or lower than market share? They're going to go together, but if you've got a brand that's got low mental availability for its size, I would bet that that's a brand that's going to go into decline. And if you've got a brand that's got high mental availability for its size, I would bet that's a brand that's going to grow.
Well, funny you should say that, because this is exactly what we look at. We look at a metric called mental availability share. There are other mental availability metrics that we look at that to do with life stage. But exactly that. So if your mental availability share is lower than your brand share, yes, that's a warning sign, isn't it?
Yes.
Whereas if your mental availability is higher than your market share, then that would suggest you're not capitalizing on that opportunity. And that's one of the things that we do look at.
So if I was doing that, I would probably call it excess mental availability.